Hello, hello class. Good morning and good afternoon whenever you are. In this video tutorial, I will show you how to create an access database. Okay, so first of all, let's read the instruction here. Okay, because when an instructor gave assignment to student, the first thing that we need to do is to read the instruction well. All right. So without further ado, let me go to the instruction page. Okay, please watch the required YouTube video before you attempt this lab and double check your work before submitting on Blackboard. Instruction, okay. So open Microsoft Access and create a new blank database and save this new database as Access Lab 1. Okay. Create a database and table as you seen on the YouTube video. Create the table structure, add field name, add the field names, data types, and change appropriate property as you seen on the YouTube. Then populate the table and add the first record to the table as you seen on the video. Once you add the first record, you will add 15 additional record for the assignment. Okay, for me, I think you can just add 10 more. Okay, you don't need to add up to 15 additional record. 10 additional record should be suffice. Okay. However, if you wanna make 15 record, is also fine to me. Okay, I just try to help you to reduce the amount of time. Okay, for you to create the table. You will make up the data and make sure that to fill the data for all field name. Okay, make sure that all record edit are different record. Also, make sure that add information for the country even though the video state that it's not needed. Feel free to use the sample output below. Okay, so the first thing that you see this is the structure of a table. Okay, when you want to create an access database, you have to learn how to create the structure of a table first. All right, so this is the field name of the table and this is the data type of the tables. Okay, and there is another description here, but since we don't put the description, you can add description here as an optional if you wish. All right, so you have field name, data type, and description. And once you finish creating the structure of a table, then you have to enter the data. Okay, first we have to enter the first record. Here, as you can see, this is the first record. Richard Rose, Company Access Learning Zone, and this is the address 3380 Ceridian Drive. And then this is the city, Amherst, and the state is New York. Postal code and the country here is US. And then this is the email address, the website, and the phone number. So as you can see that this is the bottom, right? This is called the data of the table. So before you enter the data, you need to create the structure, which is this is on the top, right? Create the structure of a table, all right? Here in this example paper on the instruction sheet, we have 16 record, but for us, maybe you can just up to here is enough, right? Just do up to 10, okay? Just do up to 10, that way that we can reduce the amount of time completing this table, all right? So here is how you do that, right? So I'm gonna show it to you. So if you don't have Access database, you need to move to the computer that have Microsoft Access database. I'm going to go click here and then click start, right? I'm going to click start. I am not click start. On the Windows, you look for Access. Access. Here, we have Access, right? I'm going to click this Access database. Okay. Once you have this open the Access program and click blank database. Okay, you click this blank database and then name this Access Lab 1, right? Access Lab 1, and maybe you can put your name, Humberto Renault, for example, right? If your name is Maria Cruz, then you put just Access Lab 1 dash Maria Cruz. As you can see this, I save the database is in my document folder, right? It's in my document folder. You can leave it as default. If you want to change this, if you want to change the storage, you can change this to the desktop, right? Desktop here. However, I think I would suggest you just to leave them alone, right? It's in the My Document, right? You can put it in the desktop or the default, which is My Document folder, okay? So this is My Document folder. So first you open the database, right? You click here, open Access database, right? Look for Access. If you don't have Access program, then you need to move to a computer where they have an Access program. Then you need to click, choose this one. Once you open the Access database, choose the blank database, and then name this database file as Access Lab 1 and put your name, right? Save it in the default folder, which is My Document, right? As you notice that when you save this, when you create this database, the file extension is .accdb. That means it's Access database, right? So then click create, boom, like that. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to do to create database. By the way, student can review this video or pause the video several times so you can follow me guide you to work on this assignment. All right. So when you create the database, notice that you will see the table 1 here, right? So now what we need to do is go to View and Design View, right? When you go to the Design View, this is where you create the structure. Okay, we're gonna name this table as what? We're gonna name this called Customer Table, right? Customer T. T means it stands for table, right? Customer Table. So you go to View and Design View. In the Design View, and save this table as Customer T, okay? Now you see the structure of a table here, right? So when you go to View and Design View, this is called the structure of a table. So now, as you can see on the paper, we need to read this paper here, right? Customer ID, first name and last name and so on. We need to type this. So I'm going to follow this one, right? Since I have the paper, I'm going to type this customer ID, right? Read and write and type the do things carefully and slowly. Since this is the first time that the student work on Access, read the instruction carefully and do and type slowly. All right. So customer ID, and this is the data type, is auto number. The description is say optional. Okay. Since on the instruction paper they don't have the information, you can leave it blank. However, if you want to put it, if you want to write it down, the description, you can do that as well. If I have to put this description, I would put customer identification number. Okay, so that's the description. Number 2 is first name, right? So I'm gonna type first name, right? The data type is short text, right? The property here, the field size, I think at this moment we can leave this as default first, right? Because on the instruction paper, they don't put the field size number. Maybe we will start doing this in the second lab, right? Normally, I would put this like, for example, the field size is 50. That means it's a 50 digit, right? So if you have a long name, if you have a long name, it may not fit if I put it 50, right? So the default is 255. Maybe at this moment, we just leave it as default. Again, on the description, since we don't have that in the paper, you can leave it blank, all right? If I have to put it, I would put customer first name, okay? First name, right? Okay, the next thing is called a last name, right? Last name. Last name, and this is called short text. Notice that the field size is 255, right? You can leave it this as default at this moment. On the second lab, then I will show you how to change this. You can change this to maybe 50, right? Because you don't want to put a lot of, you don't want to have an extra space on that, on the field property. At this moment, just leave it alone, right? And then here, you can type as indicated on the paper. So you're gonna put company name, right? The data type is short text, okay? So student will type all of this field name according to the instruction here up to here, up to the notes here, right? Up to the notes, right? Notice that when it comes to email, you're gonna put the data type, you're gonna assign the data type as a hyperlink, website is hyperlink, and number of employee is number. It's not a short text. So when it comes to this field name, you have to change the data type, all right? Or here, is active, yes or no, right? You need to put this yes or no. Let me show you the one that already done, right? So this is how you complete that. You need to write all of the field name, okay? Once you write all the field name, let me show you, this is the one that already completed from my previous class. You notice that, right? Customer ID, first name, last name, and up to the notes, right? Is active, here you put yes or no, right? Here is number of employees, right? And the hyperlink, you choose this hyperlink. You can type it in or just choose the one in the drop box there, all right? So you need to type all of this, right? Okay, so basically, once you finish all of this field name, right? Once you type all of the field name up to the notes, up to the bottom here, right? Up to the notes, which is long, what you call this? This is long text, right? Once you finish create the structure of a table, then you need to enter the data, right? How you enter the data? You enter the data by putting this one, view and data sheet view, right? Data sheet view. Boom, like this. They will ask you, do you want to save the table? Do you want to save the table now? Say yes. Now you can see that you can enter the name here. For example, let me see. This is, for example, Richard. You need to type this. Last name is Ross. And then company name, I'm gonna put here Access Learning Zone. And the note here is, the note, for example, what is the note they ask you? Ricky, he is very cool guy. Okay. He is a cool guy, right? I'm going to make these things bigger, larger, right? The column is too small, so I'm gonna make it wider so you can see also the font size. I can change this to 14, right? Notice that if I move to the second one, it automatically goes to the next one, right? The next one is what you call it? Silvana Mendoza, right? Mendoza. And then here is called Bailey Ambers. And then the note, I don't fill out the rest of the field name because I just show you how to do this, okay? The example. The note here, it says that on the paper, She's a loyal customer. Silvana is a loyal customer, right? So, since I just keep it short, for you guys, once you finish this structure, you go to view and data sheet view, right? In the data sheet view, you need to enter all of this name, right? Just enter up to 10 should be enough, okay? So as you can see that, you see in one record, you have a lot of information there, right? The note is in here, right? Just do up to here is enough. Just do the first 10, right? If you want to do 16, that's fine. But I just try to shorten the amount of typing for student, just up to here, right? So you need to enter this manually, right? When you enter the database, don't enter it like this one, per column. No, you have to finish this per record, like the one that I'm doing it here, right? You need to do this. Once you finish record number 3, then you move to number 4, right? So I finish this, for example, Santiago, and then Klosner, and then this is called Calvin Klein, okay, Calvin Klein, Calvin Klein, okay, and then the note here is, what's the note here? Santiago is very nice, okay. Santiago is a nice customer, right? Okay, there we go, right? So you do it like this until 10 record, right? So when I go to view, design view, this is called the structure of a table. And when I enter this data sheet view, this is called, this is when the student entered the data, okay? So when your student finish doing this access lab, maybe it takes about an hour and so, right? You can click this table, okay? Close this, okay? Remember, student will need to enter this field name, the whole thing, right? I think there are like 15 names. Don't follow me, because for me, I just show you how to do it, okay? This is not correct. You have to complete all the field name here. Once you finish all the field name, then you go to view and data sheet view to enter the data, right? Once you finish enter the data, you close this table. Notice that the data is saved automatically, right? So Access database, Microsoft Access, save this table automatically. Close this, you will see your table there. So how you upload this Access file to Blackboard? You go to File, Save As. Remember earlier you already saved the name, the table, the database as Access Lab 1, right? Is in my document folder. So now we need to save it again, right? Just to be sure. Access Lab 1, right? We need to save it again just to be sure. Access is actually already saved automatically. So we click Save. Do you want to replace it? Yes. Okay, because we already saved it earlier when we create database, and close this, right? So now you will see this in my document. Let me see. Now you will see this in my document, right? So in my document, you will see, where is this? Here we go. Access Lab, right? I just created April the 7th, 10:58 a.m., right? So thank you very much, and hopefully that this video is informative to you. Thank you.